tough.
I was going to say, do you, obviously Alex is one of your biggest stars, if not your biggest star right now. But do you think Khalil, with this performance, he's going to become a draw in the future, and that people are going to want to actively go out and see him fight?
Yeah, I mean, you have to respect this guy. But I mean, does anybody? Did this not play out the way everybody thought it would? I mean, everybody knew. Everybody at first was like, "Oh, he's ranked number 8," but you knew it was going to be a badass fight. You knew it was going to be a badass fight. You can never measure heart. You don't know how that's going to go. Well, now you know.
In the third round and maybe into the fourth round there, Alex's jab really started to pick up. And did you feel like when he was landing that jab and the 1-2 that was really the difference in the fight, where Khalil maybe wasn't able to breathe after that?
I felt like the difference was the low leg kick. And when he started calf kicking him, he was destroying that leg, and he was having trouble putting pressure on it, and he was having trouble with his punching power, his movement, everything. And he systematically just started picking him apart. And he said, when I watched the feature, he said, listen, this guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream, but my fight IQ will win this fight. He said that in the combo feature, and that's exactly the way it played out.
Two other questions for me. One, you were so high on Anderson Silva during his run. Alex has lost to Israel, but he's beaten probably a better quality of opponent than Anderson did in that run, especially in the first part of that run. How do you think this run of Alex's compares to what Anderson did at that point?
There's no doubt. What this guy has done is unbelievable. Not just in, if you want to compare, and the way he's done it. The way he's done it. I mean, this guy destroys everybody.
And then the last question: what did you think of the judging in the co-main event? I mean, it seemed to me.
I thought your judging tonight was atrocious.
Yeah.
Felt like I was at a boxing match in Ireland tonight.
Right here.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the appeals of Alex is he fights pretty regularly, like almost like he's like 300, 303, and now Salt Lake. After a fight like this, at some point, I know you like fighters that are active, but do you just kind of have to tell him to maybe pump the brakes for a little bit, especially after a fight like this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know with this guy. I mean, this guy always wants to fight. He's 38 too. It's not like he's 28 and he's got this many fights. But I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out.
And I know you just said the judges were atrocious, but what did you make of the Mario Bautista-Jose Aldo fight?
I thought the judging was atrocious tonight. I'll just leave it at that. It was atrocious.
Kayla Harrison, obviously a lot of people thought she would kind of run through her opponents when she came to the UFC, had a hard-fought decision win over Ketlin. What did you make of her performance? And then obviously you showed her on the split screen when Juliana was getting the belt wrapped around her waist.
Yeah, it's, when you get here, and I say it all the time, when you start to break into the top 5, the top 3, it gets tougher, And Juliana and Raquel are both dogs. I mean, they're dogs, so it should be fun.
And Kayla did a lot of, she carried a lot of the promotion for this fight specifically, even in kind of the event. I mean, she drew a lot of numbers on social and media day. And if you kind of compare it to like Michael Chandler, MVP, even Ben Askren, when they all came over, like they just kind of hit the ground running promoting-wise. Like they want to do all of the appearances. They carry the pressers. Is that them turning it on when they get to the UFC, or do you recognize this before? And that's
I don't know if it's turning it on, but it's just another level when you get here. They feel it, you feel it. You fucking rot away in the PFL for years or the fucking Bellator and shit, and then you finally get here, you feel it.
And then, not the judging, but what did you make of the referee in the Cesar Almeida-Iho Pretaria fight where he kept resetting them? There were like 4 eye pokes. There was a low blow.
Yeah, I missed that. I was in my room, and we were talking to people, and I know, but Ratner walked in right after it happened, and was like, yeah, that ain't happening again tonight.
And then I'm curious your take on this, because I asked Roman and Kayla about this. In the Roman Dolidze Kevin Holland fight, when he broke his ribs, Kevin's coach was asking him, like, do you want to continue? Do you want to continue? And the commentary felt it should be on the coach to make that call, because fighters are going to want to fight through it. And it might not look good because they might not want to fight, but they don't want to be the ones to throw in the towels. And it should be the coaches that decide their fighter shouldn't fight. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know the story. I don't know what happened. I didn't hear it, and I don't know what happened. But
it looks like he broke his ribs on like turning, and then when he stood up, he was like, I broke my ribs.
I don't know if he broke or popped a rib. I don't know if we know. Let me see if I got that information here. No, I don't. I don't have that info. But popped, broke. I don't know. But yeah, it's tough to maneuver around with a popped. It doesn't even have to be broken. All you got to do is pop that cartilage in between the ribs. No fun.
Dana, going back to that Aldo fight, you know, in the third round, Mario came out and sort of went for a takedown. Referee separated them, immediately go straight for the takedown again. Do you think the referee could have been more active in quitting on the stalling there?
I always think that the referee should be more active on that, 100%, especially when somebody keeps doing it to stall. And you guys aren't going to fucking let up on this, are you? I guess we'll get into it. I don't know, if you're judging on a guy, whether it's control, if it's this or that, if you're not trying to fight, how do you win the fight, right? And if you're looking at attempted takedowns, well, what about stuffing the takedowns? Just madness.
There is a difference between offensive grappling and just wasting time.
100%.
And it's not just the referees that need to recognize that, but clearly the judges as well.
When you can tell that the guy definitely doesn't want to stand and strike and just wants to stall against the fence. Yes, the refs, that's their job. They're supposed to see it. When they see it continually happening and that the guy is not trying to win the fight, then you keep breaking them up.
Do you think Conor McGregor tweeted about his idea for stopping stalling was introducing a stalling clock, and if you go back to the same move, the clock ticks down and you let them be in that position for less and less time? Is maybe not that idea, but would you like to see referees, if they go straight?
I don't even think you need a clock. I mean, it's common sense. When the guy keeps doing it and is doing everything he can to not fight and not win the fight, as a ref, you should break it up immediately. I mean, if he just did it 3 rounds in a row and keeps doing it, you know, and they get there, he doesn't get the takedown, give him a couple seconds, see if he gets the takedown, then break it up.
And just going back to the main event, I know you've already touched on it, but, you know, I think sometimes, because Khalil's like a sort of an empathetic guy, sometimes people kind of judge his mindset and maybe think he might not have the mental fortitude to reach spots like this. For him to show that sort of balls in the 4th round and meet Alex head on and take those punches and still come on even when it's...
From the first round.
Yeah.
He had no fear from the first round. Khalil Roundtree went in there and started going at it the minute the bell rang. No fear, no jitters, no nerves. I mean, maybe he had some jitters and nerves. If he did, he didn't show it. He went right in against one of the baddest dudes of all time and just started mixing it up with him. It was awesome.
Hi, Dana, over here.
Hi.
Hiding behind all the cameras. Alexander Hernandez told us today that this morning he saw a shooting on the streets, and Brendan Royval went and chased the shooter, and I guess they caught the shooter. I'm wondering if you heard of that and if you think that's a smart idea.
Our guys caught the shooter?
Well, I don't know if he caught him, but I guess he was on the phone with 911, but they caught the shooter.
Holy shit.
Is that a smart idea for your headliner next week?
I don't think so, no. I mean, this has happened in the past. It's weird how much this happens to our guys. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that.
There was also a power slap study that came out by a medical journal. Doctors watched the first episode of Power Slap and determined from just watching the first episode that there was concussions happening.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of...
They watched one episode of the show, know nothing about medicals or what we do or any of the studies we've done. Sounds like these typical doctors that look for attention to me.
That's what I thought.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, and last question. You mentioned already Kayla a little bit, but PFL posted a video about a few hours before her fight, kind of putting her down and using that as a way to promote their upcoming fight with Larissa. What do you think as a promoter? Do you think that's the right kind of play to go?
I think when you're losing as much money as they are, fucking go for it. Throw the kitchen sink at it. These guys, this guy just came out recently and said, you know, we're going to spend more money than they did on the Sphere. Well, that sounds fucking brilliant. How many tickets you going to sell? Yeah, they're not very bright. So if I were them, I would do it. Listen, it's all fair. Knock yourself out. They're drowning. They suck. I mean, they're not good at what they do. So I guess you would just keep trying anything you can to make something stick. All good.
Dana, one more in the front, right here. Just because you brought up the Sphere, reminded me. The WWE had a big event earlier today too, and at the press conference, AAA said he watched Noche UFC, and he goes, "That's what I want to do." And has he reached out to you at all? Because he was all about the graphics and the production value and everything at this press conference today.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's the first I heard of it. Awesome. Listen, we're all on the same team, so we can help.
Dana, right here in the back. Obviously, tonight was a big night, but you've had a lot of great cards. Well, this was, the third one here in Salt Lake City, and it seems like you're really starting to build a huge fighting spirit culture out here in Salt Lake City. How important is it to you to have, big opportunities for guys in these cities and also bring shows to cities like this?
Let me tell you about this city. So, like you just said, and we're number 1, 2, and 3 all time in the gate. And I'm sure you guys have experienced moving around this city. The nicest people in the world. These people are all really nice. And tell me how fun it is to fly 1 hour and sell out and have this kind of energy an hour away from Vegas. It's been great out here, and I love it.
When you get to make a market in a place like this where you like you said, it's a beautiful area that people come to support, does that encourage you to start doing that in other areas too, where the UFC may have never even been yet, but you see what you did here and you want to do that in other places?
Well, that's what I do, right? I mean, that's what I do. We're talking now. We're going to start hitting some of these places that we haven't hit in a while. Pre-COVID, we're looking at like Seattle right now. We're looking at going back to Chicago and some of these other places like that. So that'll be coming up in 25.
There was an amazing show in Tennessee. I don't know, man. That might be an idea. A couple years ago, you guys had an awesome show out there. But last from me, you're a guy who's accomplished quite a lot, man. You're getting into the boxing world now. It's another endeavor for you to have some fun with and do something new. I wanted to ask you, what are your biggest overall goals for yourself in your career at this point?
My thing has always been the same since day one. I want to continue to grow the sport. I want to continue, like you said, to go into markets that we've never been to. I want to continue to invest in the sport, like the PI in Mexico and many other ideas that I've had for the last several years. So I'm just going to keep doing that.
And also, I see your knuckles, man. You've been training. You've been hitting some pads.
No, do they look busted? Oh, Jesus Christ! No, that's from Khalil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't even see that. It's definitely not for me. I've been cold plunging, not hitting anything. Believe me.
Thank you.
I'm too old to be hitting anything.
Dana, right over here.
Yeah.
Just talking a little bit about Utah, the main staple of this entire state is Court McGee. He's been in the UFC now for 14 years, gets the win tonight. How much has he meant to the UFC and also just building the sport of MMA in Utah specifically?
Well, all these guys do. I mean, all of them do. But Court's, obviously a special guy with an incredible story. And, I saw him when he came out tonight, came out of the octagon, and just couldn't be a nicer human being. And I'm really happy for him and his family. You guys done with me?
Over here, just kind of following up on that a little bit with just the way that the events in Utah like this continue to build on themselves. What is it in the water where it feels like, it started with an incredible kick and then a backflip and then obviously that masterpiece out there. Like, what is it about this state, do you think, where UFC just kind of builds year after year on itself?
What's the question?
Just why do you think it just gets better and better every year here in Utah?
Well, I'll tell you this. The sport is incredible, right? And the live event is amazing. Nobody leaves one of these live events and goes, yeah, I don't ever want to do one of these again. So every time we come, you have to assume that new people are experiencing it for the first time. Somebody who's experienced it many times will bring somebody new. And, that's how we've grown for the last almost 25 years. That's literally the formula. I hope I answered your question.
No, perfect. Thank you.
Done with me? Yeah? Have a great night, you guys. Thanks.
Congrats, champ, to your right. Did you know when it was over you had it won? I mean, did you feel there had to be a little doubt in your mind, I would guess?
My old good friend Bert Watson, he used to say, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. They're only going to make you cry. And so that was definitely playing in my head rent-free, especially because in the locker room I kept hearing that they were giving these decisions away and that the judges were a little crazy tonight. So I was definitely concerned about that. And then when I heard split, I was like, oh, golly. I didn't know. But I thought in my head I had done enough.
In the fourth round, she came out hard as you. Obviously, it turned out you had won the first 3 rounds on all the scorecards, but she came hard in the fourth round and she hurt you. What goes through your mind at that point? Because you got to feel like you were in control of the fight, and then all of a sudden you're hurt and you're kind of reeling a little bit. How did you get it turned back around?
Staying calm. Flowing like water, as my jiu-jitsu coach, Luis Claudio, always says, is just to stay calm and make sure that you're not, spazzing out, because that's only going to get you more tired. I know that I am tough. I know that I am durable, and I know that I'm never out of the fight, and I'm never going to give up on myself. So you're literally going to have to kill me in there in order to get me to stop. And I knew that even though I had been hurt, that I wasn't down and out, and I'm never going to count myself out. So for me, it's just, the definition of a true fighter.
After you got up after that right hand and she started getting you on the cage and landed some shots there, were those hurting you? Or, they seem like they were clean, but were they?
No, not at all. I would have to rewatch the fight, but no, I do not recall those shots hurting me.
And then, was she better than you thought, right? It was a very close fight. However, somebody scored the fight. Do you think that she was a better fighter than you gave her credit for going into the event?
I had just prepared for Raquel for a long time. I realized that she's a veteran and that she's tough and she's durable. But she, I don't think, did much that surprised me other than that head kick that definitely landed.
And then last thing, when you beat Amanda, it's like this huge upset. Nobody can believe it. One of the big things. And this is a fairly even fight going in. So how does it feel to regain the belt compared to winning it that first time and beating a legend like Amanda?
It's a great time. It's a great life achievement. I am the first person to give birth and win a world title. And then I was able to do that a second time. And so, not taken away from anybody else, but just to say that that's never been done. Also, I won the Ultimate Fighter, and she felt that she was supposed to win the Ultimate Fighter. So, again, to go full circle and say, I am the true Ultimate Fighter. I am the last woman standing. I am the one that, is to be beaten, and you have to come and take it away from me, and you're going to have to come pry it out of my cold, dead fingers, because I am not giving up on it. To climb the mountain again, to show little girls all over the world, to put more eyes, more focus on the women's bantamweight division, or just women in general. My job is to usher in the new up-and-coming talent and to make sure that the sport of women's mixed martial arts grows. And as I have a 6.5-year-old daughter sitting at home watching me, I just want to, inspire her, show her what perseverance, grit, determination, willpower, hard work, and discipline will get you. So, if I inspire my daughter, that's the only one that I truly care about. But if there's another little boy out there or a little girl out there that says, I want to do that, I can achieve my dreams, then that's the end goal.
And last question for me, when you watched that last fight, did you get a chance to watch the main event?
No, I did not. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Sorry. Thanks, Kevin.
Juliana, right here.
Hi.
Obviously, you said, Raquel, she's a veteran, you're a veteran. You guys have fought pretty much everyone in this top 15, and usually when you get these veteran matchups, it's always the little things that kind of push the winner over the edge because they've seen so many things. So I guess, what do you think you presented in there that kind of gave you that edge in this very close fight at the end?
One of my coaches is living rent-free in my head because he told me when we were game planning, you've never won the first round before. And so when I was in there, and I think I was like, I think I won the first round. I think that might be the first time that I've actually won in the first round, aside from Jessica Rakoczy when I took her out in the first round, or some of the other girls that I took out in the first round. So for me to be able to prove that I can win the first round was actually, that might even be more ginormous for me mentally than winning the belt. I'm very happy about that.
And what was it like having Bilal in your corner, another former champion in there? He just pulled off the biggest win of his career.
Former and current. Me and Bilal have this little side joke going on because he went on Joe Rogan and he says, now our gym has a real champ. And that's how he ended, the 3.5 hours. And I thought, real champ? Like, what was mine fake? Like mine's that, like I wasn't a real champ. I was offended, So every time I see him, I'm always like, "What's up, real champ?" And so now for us to have 2 real champs, in the gym is just an amazing feat. And again, not only just the little girls or the little boys, but the kids in our gym that are trying to come and achieve, the ultimate goal that we have done. We are inspiring them and we are showing them what hard work and determination will get you. So to have Bilal in my corner is an absolute pleasure. It's an honor. I trust his eyes, and I'm just so happy that he was able to be in there with me. I went to Manchester to support him. The only thing I'll have to say is, what a bully, dude. He didn't let me freaking sit down in the 4th round, and my coach wouldn't give me water in the 4th round either. I think I was more mad about that than anything.
And then you have this unique position where you have possible 2 big fights in front of you. Obviously, you called for the Amanda Nunes fight, which you said could be the biggest fight in just MMA history, I think, is what you said. But then they showed Kayla Harrison. She was watching back here. They showed a split screen with you and her. She stood up making the belt motion. Obviously, you want the Amanda fight, but you are in this unique position where either route you take, you get a lot of eyeballs on you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when I saw Amanda retire that day in Canada, I was sitting cage side and I was booing. And it was because I didn't believe that she was truly done. And then you hear Dana White saying, I think she retired too early. And then you watch her, and I feel like she's just twiddling her thumbs, wondering, what is my identity? What am I doing? I'm bored. Like, who am I if I'm not, fighting in the UFC? So there's an air that I feel that she misses the sport, that she's looking to, find something that's going to, make her want to come back. Kayla never mentioned her name when she beat Holly Holm, and she sure is not mentioning her name now. None of the other girls were mentioning Amanda's name that they considered the greatest of all time, yet I was, and I never shied away from that, and I still am, because I truly do not believe that she's done. I think she retired too early. I think that she's looking for something to do, and, that to me is the biggest fight in women's mixed martial arts history, because we're 1-1. My fight against her the first time was so dominant I made her tap. Our second fight, I ran out of time. I lost a decision handedly, fine, no problem. But it would be nice to put it to bed once and for all and get that trilogy fight that I feel that she ran away from.
And I do have to ask, did you watch Kayla's fight? And if you did, what did you make of her performance?
I was, to be honest, I'll tell you, I was warming up and focusing on my own fight. But with that being said, I had my coaches there watching the fight and kind of giving me the 411 on what was going down. We're not impressed. She said she was going to put an elbow through her skull and she was going to, do all this damage. Like, the girl didn't have a scratch on her. It was boring, and she didn't do anything that, jumped off the pages like, ooh, the boogeyman, you know what I mean? So I was definitely, especially with, hearing from my team, not impressed.
Do you think that has something to do with Kayla, or Ketlin was just tougher than maybe Kayla gave credit to?
I definitely think that at some point or another, like Ronda, when you figure out the one-trick pony of being able to stuff a takedown, you realize that the fight is more competitive and more even than, people want to give it credit for. So I think that, once you stuff the takedown, you realize that you're actually in a tougher fight than you thought you were. And I think that that's kind of what played into her head tonight.
Juliana, first off, congratulations on the win. How did the altitude feel?
What do you mean?
I know you had the comments on the altitude, so how did it feel tonight?
What altitude? I'm just kidding. It was great. I fought here before, and I think that, I feel bad because Raquel was saying, she made a mistake not training at altitude and woo, woo, woo. And I was like, you need to focus on yourself and quit worrying about me. And I trained for altitude, and I did not want to put a ginormous pressure on myself because, like I said to some of the media when I first got here, if you're in shape, you're in shape. And that's at the end of the day, once that cage door closes, you have to know how to fight, and you have to learn how to find another gear. And that, to me, is what separates me from some of these other fighters.
And if your wish doesn't get granted of Amanda coming back to fight you, how big do you really think that Kayla Harrison fight could be? Because if we're honest, she does have a lot of hype around herself. You just got the belt back. So how big could that fight be in your opinion?
Yes, if Amanda cowers away again and does not come back and fight me, then Yes, you're absolutely right. Kayla brings a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention to the sport, and I love that.
And I know you were locked in getting ready for your fight, but I'm not sure if you spotted there were some Venezuelan flags out there tonight. So did you get to see any of that, and what did you make of that?
Yeah, my parents were responsible for bringing over my aunts and uncles legally to the United States. I just want to throw that in there, and it was so great. The UFC was delightful. They gave me, close to 20 tickets so that my family from Venezuela could come and watch me tonight. And that's the first time that they've ever seen me fight live. And it was incredible to be able to share this moment with them, because the last time I went to Venezuela, I was 8 years old. And I haven't seen my uncles, my cousins, my aunts since I was 8. So the whole thing was extremely emotional for me. And I'm just very proud that I was able to get the win in front of them tonight.
And lastly, I know your daughter's been one of your biggest fans in your whole fight career. What did she say to you after this fight?
Oh, yeah. Her dad sent me a video of her going nuts and literally like falling over the floor and screaming and cheering. And she put on her little doctor's outfit and said that she was going to give me a Band-Aid and nurse me back to health. We joked, the entire time about eating cheeseburgers and having a Coke. And she first said, we're going to have 100 cheeseburgers. I said, we're going to have 100 cheeseburgers, baby. And then she moved the number from 100 to 1,000. And so tonight she said, we're going to eat 1,000 cheeseburgers and have a Coke. And I said, yes, we are, baby. So I'm really excited to get back home so that I can, eat maybe probably one. That's as much as my stomach could probably fit in right now. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Alex, congratulations.
Thank you, Shama.
Chama. Okay. Alex, Was that the toughest fight you've ever had? I know you've had a loss before, but that fight was really brutal. How did it rank compared to the other fights you've had?
Essa foi a luta mais difícil. Você já tem derrota, mas essa pareceu bem brutal.
Essa luta foi muito difícil, né? Pô, ali no... Hoje foi muito difícil, mas eu acho que o mais difícil mesmo foi a minha preparação para essa luta. Muitos não. Na verdade, só a minha equipe sabe tudo que eu passei, né? Quando marcaram essa luta para mim, eu estava no Brasil e tive dificuldade de voltar para os Estados Unidos. Deu um problema no meu visto. Fiquei todos os dias no consulado para ver se meu visto estava pronto. E eles não mandavam um e-mail para mim. Então, pô, faltando um mês para a luta, saiu meu visto. Depois eu voltei para os Estados Unidos, mas assim, voltando um pouquinho, eu já estava doente. A imunidade caiu, febre, dor de garganta. Tive que tomar antibiótico por 5 dias. Depois consegui fazer a viagem, estava ruim. Tem até vídeo mesmo, eu mostrando como que eu estava mal. Depois eu falei no vídeo até, se eu ganhar a luta, porque não sei o que acontece, mas se eu ganhar a luta, eu posso mostrar esse vídeo. Se eu perder, ninguém iria ver esse vídeo. Depois eu vou mostrar para vocês verem como a minha cara, como que estava. Então voltei para os Estados Unidos, fiquei uma semana em Canéric, depois vim para cá 3 semanas antes. Cheguei aqui à altitude, minha garganta começou a inflamar de novo, fui para o médico. Tive que tomar antibiótico por mais 5 dias. Depois, voltando, no Brasil, tinha machucado minha costela. Uma lesão que 1 ano atrás eu tive um pouco mais de 1 ano, meio que uma fratura, né? E agora aconteceu uma inflamação na cartilagem, que quem já passou por isso sabe, que é ruim. Então voltei para os Estados Unidos, vim para minha preparação. Aqui estava muito difícil, altitude e rompi o ligamento do dedinho também, né? O mesmo dedo que eu quebrei, né? Essa vez não foi osso, foi ligamento. Então passei por muitas coisas, né? Você perguntar para mim o difícil, lógico, a luta foi muito difícil, mas acho que o que eu passei fora da luta para chegar aqui e ainda dar esse show, né? Eu sinceramente eu tenho muito orgulho de mim hoje.
Yeah, the fight was really tough, but only my team really knows how tough this camp was. I went through a lot of stuff that nobody really knows about. So I was in Brazil about over a month ago. I had some problems with my visa. I was going over to the consulate every single day trying to see if my passport was ready to be picked up. Finally made it back to the U.S., spent about a week in Connecticut, been here for 3 weeks. In that meantime, I was on antibiotics. I had a fever. I had a bad throat, and a lot of things happened. Also, going back when I was in Brazil, I hurt my rib. It was an injury that I had about a year ago, and it came back. So that was also something that I was dealing with. And then when I came here, my throat was still bad. Went to the doctor, had another round of antibiotics. I even recorded a video at the time that, I say in the video that I would show it if I won. So we can put that out at some point. But, I went through a lot. And also the ligament in my toe that was hurt for UFC 300, that came back. So there's a lot of things that I went through in this camp. And, it was a tough fight, but it was a tough lead up to this fight. And I actually feel really proud of myself at this moment.
Is it more satisfying, given everything you've gone through, to win a fight like that, as opposed to, going in reasonably healthy and just performing like a superstar? You had a lot of adversity and you stepped up. Does that make it more satisfying?
É mais satisfatório vencer a luta depois de tudo isso que você passou, em vez de ser todas as lutas que você teve recentemente, assim, tudo que você superou?
É um pouco, mas eu sinceramente eu prefiro não passar por o que eu passei. Porque além a gente sofre com o físico, mas a mente a gente sofre muito. Se não estiver bem preparado, as coisas não acontecem da melhor maneira.
Yeah, a little bit, but I honestly rather not go through everything that I went through because, the body suffers, you suffer physically, but the mind is really what really suffers in these cases. So I'd rather not have to go through that.
Is that the fact that you can overcome that and go through that, is that telling us that your mind is your greatest asset? As good as you are physically, is your ability to focus on your job and block out all the other stuff your greatest asset?
O fato de você ter passado por tudo isso mostra que a tua mente é o seu maior carro forte, assim, a maior coisa que você tem é a sua mente mesmo, poder superar as coisas.
Não, com certeza, né? Mas eu coloquei o meu corpo ali, sabe, vim para altitude 3 semanas antes, mesmo doente, né? E eu quis meio que ver como que eu iria me comportar aqui, mesmo com tudo que eu passei, eu tava bem nos treinos ainda, né? Eu imagino se eu estivesse bem, não tivesse tomado 2 vezes antibiótico, eu acho que, eu estaria, voando hoje. Mas, graças a Deus, deu tudo certo, né? E estou muito feliz.
For sure, but my body did go through a lot. You know, I've been out here for 3 weeks, adjusting to the altitude and just kind of testing myself with all this stuff. You know, but I think if I hadn't had to take 2 rounds of antibiotics, then I would have just taken off tonight.
And last question, you know, you have been so active, the most active major fighter in the UFC. Given how beat up your body is and everything that you've gone through, do you think you're playing with fire if you continue to fight this often? And do you think you need to maybe step back just so that you're reasonably, I know no fighter is fully healthy, but so you're reasonably healthy next time?
Dos grandes nomes do UFC, você é o mais ativo no momento, né? Você acha que depois de tudo que você tem passado fisicamente e tal, você precisa dar um break para recuperar? Você acha que é um risco que você está fazendo?
Eu acho que sim, tem que dar uma maneirada aí. Como eu falei, tenho 37 anos, eu queria aproveitar ao máximo, mas, a gente sabe que tem os limites. Eu acho que também estou forçando bastante o meu corpo, né? Então agora a gente tem alguns trabalhos já para fazer. A gente vai pro México, Malta, Coreia, tudo é trabalho. E depois vou tirar uns dias em Bali, junto com o meu empresário, o Joinha, tá ali. Dar uma descansada, né, Joinha?
Yeah, for sure.
Levar o Ed junto.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's a lot. I think that there is a limit. I want to push myself as much as I can. I'm 37 and I want to take advantage of time, but I do need to take a break. I have some commitments in Mexico, in Korea, in Malta, and I'm going to go hang out with George in Bali, with my manager. And we're going to take Ed, and, you know, I need to take some time off.
Mas vou estar treinando, hein?
But I'm going to be training.
Alex, right here. Right out of the gate in the first round, you ran at him with that jumping kick and missed. So I guess, was that part of the game plan, or you just feel like you needed to throw that in the moment?
Aquele chute ali no primeiro round fazia parte da estratégia ou uma coisa que você viu no momento?
O primeiro chute que eu errei? Não, a gente combinou isso aí, mas, acontece. A gente erra. Errei.
He asked that first kick that I missed. Yeah, you know, it was in the game plan, but, you know, it happens.
The broadcast seemed to think that him being a southpaw threw you off a little bit because you couldn't hit him with the outside leg kicks early, and then eventually you figured him out. Was that true, or had you prepared for the southpaw and you were ready for whatever he had?
Os comentaristas estavam falando que por ele ser canhoto você não estava conseguindo acertar aquele chute na perna, mas depois você conseguiu pegar ali. Isso é uma coisa que você foi ajustando ou já fazia parte da estratégia?
Não, acho que eu consegui pegar, né? Acho que foi tudo planejado, fui dentro do planejado, né? Pegar aquela perna da frente dele, né? Geralmente não, eu sou destro, vou chutar a perna, no caso a esquerda dele, seria me aproximar muito dele ali, então eu queria só chutar ali na manha ali para sair rápido do golpe. Foi o que, se vocês ver, foi o que aconteceu. Lógico, a gente erra e um golpe ou outro pegava, até um golpe que eu senti ali, nem sei que momento que foi, mas vou assistir o vídeo depois e vou ver.
No, that was all in the game plan. You know, obviously I'm unorthodox. I have an orthodox stance, so I would kick his left leg. But, you know, it was all part of the plan, and we started landing those shots. And, you know, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you miss.
Obviously, a lot of the narrative coming into this was his explosiveness and his speed. But to actually be in there and feel it, was he faster than you thought after watching his tape and then feeling his speed in there?
Todo mundo tá falando da velocidade dele e tal, entrando nessa luta. O que você achou da velocidade? Você achou que ele é mais rápido?
Eu achei que era mais rápido, né? Mas eu acho que, tem esse lance de altitude, adrenalina. Acho que antes da luta, se você não estiver bem ali mentalmente, você já tem um desgaste maior. Mas acho que foi toda dentro da estratégia ali, de fazer ele errar, de chutar ali, um pouquinho longe, fazer ele jogar os golpes fortes. A gente sabia do risco que podia pegar, né? Foi ali machucando também, botou algumas marcas no rosto, mas acho que foi tudo dentro do planejado.
Yeah, it was basically everything planned. You know, I wanted to land those kicks. I wanted to make him come forward, and he landed some shots. but it was all within our planning.
And the last one for me, those shots you were talking about, I think he ducked a head kick, and then it looked like he dropped you, but on the replays it looked like he hit you with a clothesline. You might have stumbled forward. Did he actually drop you, or was it you falling over and him pushing you with his arm?
Aquele momento ali que você caiu, ele te acertou e fez você cair, ou foi uma coisa assim, você desequilibrou e ele te empurrou ali?
Não, se for o momento que eu tô pensando, acho que eu senti. Mas eu tenho que assistir o vídeo. Não dá pra saber, não.
If it's the moment that I'm thinking of, I felt it, but I gotta rewatch it. I'm not sure.
Eu acho que foi alguma coisa girando ali, não sei. Meio que de costas ou de lado ali, não lembro.
I think it was like something spinning. Maybe I had my back to him. I don't remember.
Não senti.
I felt it.
Hi, Alex.
Mas é que é o que eu falei em algumas entrevistas. As pessoas estão tão acostumadas, isso aconteceu muito no kickboxing. Acostumado de vir ali batendo, pô, sempre sair com a cara limpa. Então, quando tem alguma marca ou sente algum golpe, as pessoas ficam abismadas. Mas isso é uma coisa comum, faz parte da luta. Mas as pessoas não estão acostumadas a ver acontecendo isso comigo. E quando vê, fica todo mundo assustado.
I used to say this in my kickboxing career. Everyone gets really worried and shocked when they see me with marks in my face. They're not used to seeing me getting hit and showing the marks of the fight. But, this is what happens.
Alex, Jamal Hill was seen yawning after the fight. Looks like he's implying that the fight was boring. I'm just curious if you can respond to that.
Tem vídeo do Jamal Hill bocejando depois da luta, como se dizendo que a luta foi chata. O que você acha?
Quem? Eu não entendi.
O Jamal Hill tem vídeo dele aqui na arena, tipo, bocejando, como se a luta fosse chata.
Tá bom. Pior que é mesmo. Acho que ele acabou de acordar do 300.
Yeah, maybe he just woke up from UFC 300.
Alex, over here. Alex, over here in the back on the right. It was reported that you had brought Sean Strickland into your camp. I spoke with Khalil earlier in the week ahead of the fight, and I asked him why he thought you would bring him in. Was it some gamesmanship on your part since they had some beef? When he responded with a one-word answer, he just said wrestling. Obviously, Khalil has never attempted a takedown. Did you expect a different game plan from him? Is that why you did bring Sean into your camp?
Muito foi falado de você trazer o Sean aí e tal, e o Khalil falou que só tinha uma razão, que era o wrestling. Qual era a razão por trás de trazer o Strickland pra cá?
Bom, experiência, né? O Sean Strickland, o cara sai, vem pra altitude, né? A gente fez, treino duro, entendeu? Não é qualquer um que tem coragem desse cara não, entendeu? Na preparação. Lógico que ele não sabia as condições que eu tava, mas ele, já lutou comigo e, a gente fez treinos depois. Não é todo mundo que tem essa coragem. Eu tiro o chapéu pra esse cara, entendeu? Ele é um cara, um guerreiro e agradeço aí por ele ter saído da casa dele, né, ter deixado o pessoal dele, vindo pra cá, pra ficar essa semana comigo. Com certeza faz parte aí desse cinturão aqui. Agradeço muito. Obrigado, Sean Strickland.
It was because of his experience, Not many people would be willing to come out here in altitude and to train with me. And, we fought before and we trained really hard, and he's always game. So, I have to thank him for that. He spent a week here with me, and definitely this belt, part of that is due to him as well.
Alex, right over here. Over the course of your UFC career, you've surrounded yourself with great people, great coaches in Connecticut. What does it mean for you to be able to bring these victories back to the people who invest so much into your success?
Você se rodeou de pessoas ótimas lá em Connecticut, né, na sua carreira do UFC. O que significa poder levar esse cinturão de volta para lá?
Não, significa muito, né? Muitas pessoas ali, desde quando eu cheguei, me ajudando, me orientando. Glover, primeiro ali, a gente com essa nossa amizade que, mudou muito a minha vida. Tenho que agradecer muito, né, ele. Meus empresários também, o Joinha ali, que fez esse contato. Esse contato foi o melhor contato, a melhor coisa que o Joinha fez na minha vida. Obrigado, Joinha, obrigado, Glover. É isso.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there supporting me and helping me. Obviously, starting off with Glover, he's the reason for all of this. He's supported me a lot, and he's responsible for a lot of this. And also George, my manager, who's the one that put us in contact and brought us together. So, yeah, that changed my life.
And last for me, people say that the sport of MMA has never seen anyone like you. When you look at all the things that people say, and honestly, you haven't been in the UFC as long as other fighters. How much pride do you take in the name you've made for yourself, but also the fan base that you've built in such a short amount of time?
As pessoas estão falando que ninguém nunca fez isso no MMA, o que você está falando, o que você está fazendo. Não tem tantas lutas no UFC e você, porra, já conquistou tanta coisa. Qual o orgulho que você tem disso?
Bom, eu tenho muito orgulho, né? Acho que trabalhei muito para isso, né? Não só quando eu cheguei no UFC, né? Mas quando eu estava lá no amador, eu sempre tive a mesma dedicação que eu tenho hoje para estar disputando o cinturão. Eu acho que isso é o grande diferencial. Você não saber aonde você vai chegar, né? O que vai acontecer, e você manter o foco. Foi o que eu fiz, né? E as coisas veio mudando. E quando chegou, né? Sendo bem remunerado, com todo esse glamour, eu diria. A gente chega aqui, a galera quer te agradar, deixa um carro bacana para você, quer te levar num restaurante bacana. Eu acho isso muito legal, no bom resultado do meu trabalho.
Yeah, I'm really proud of all of that. You know, it's a testament to how, you know, when you keep your discipline and when you keep believing in yourself and doing everything correctly. You know, I've been having the same discipline since I was an amateur. And, you know, at a time when you didn't know what you're going to get, what money you're going to make, how far you're going to go. And, you know, now here I am, and, you know, in this glamour in the UFC, and, you know, making money with all these people around, and, you know, people lend me their nice cars to drive. People want to take me out to dinner in nice places. So, yeah, I'm proud of how far I've come.
Alex, over here to your left. Conor McGregor posted a video of himself saying Chama after you won the fight, and he was really calling out for you to make a call for heavyweight in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. What do you make of that, and do you think a move up to heavyweight would be the next major step in your continued elevation and stardom inside the company and just in the world?
O McGregor postou vídeo falando chama e ficou falando que você devia pedir para uma luta no peso pesado. O que você acha de dar esse passo? Você acha que é natural, é o que você vai fazer?
Bom, eu pedi isso já antes, né? Mas, cara, lá em cima ali, o Dana White falou, tá muito orgulhoso, que, vai cuidar de mim. E, bom, se ele vai cuidar, quer me agradar, e eu já pedi uma luta no peso pesado, eu acho que seria uma forma muito bacana aí de me agradar. Mas acho que tudo no seu tempo, vamos ver o que acontece, mas é isso.
Yeah, I've called for that before, and, you know, Dana came in there and was very happy, and he said he was going to take care of me. And I think that, you know, if the UFC wants to please me, I think maybe a fight at heavyweight one day would be something that would really please me.
Bartavens, Alex, you won here last summer in Utah, and then you've been on a tear since, won tonight. Is it safe to assume that you like fighting in Utah?
Você lutou no ano passado aqui em Utah e desde então, não tem como te parar, né? Você pode dizer que você gosta de lutar aqui?
Eu gosto de lutar. Gosto de lutar em todo lugar. Aqui foi muito difícil a luta, né? Foi com o Blachowicz, onde estava com o meu menisco estourado, né? Meses antes. Não treinei direito também. Depois, eu lutei com o Giri Prohaska. Eu até falei isso em algumas entrevistas, que eu estava ali, na hora que o árbitro veio para separar, depois ali que eu dei as cotoveladas nele, ele sentiu, eu fui cair ali na montada e o árbitro, entrou no meio, e se você ver no vídeo ali, eu teria que, faz todo sentido cair com a perna direita ali, mas eu aliviei a perna direita, caí com a perna esquerda e fiz um rolamento para não cair de mau jeito. Então, assim, foram lutas difíceis, essas duas lutas para mim. Mas depois eu fiz minha cirurgia no meu joelho, ninguém sabe disso, e depois voltei e agora eu me sinto bem, mas sempre acontece alguma coisa. Eu acho que tem que acontecer, não sei.
I like fighting anywhere, but, you know, I've had two very tough fights here. My fight last year was super tough. My meniscus was blown, and, you know, it went to a decision, and then I fought Yuri, and you can even, I was talking about this the other day, and, you know, you can see that at the end of the Yuri fight, I should have put my weight on one leg, but I kind of rolled forward to avoid messing up my knee even more. And then I had surgery, which is something that most people don't even know. But, there's always something. It almost feels like that's a part of it.
Enquanto isso, meu fisioterapeuta Cauê está conhecendo o mundo.
And in the meantime, my physical therapist Kawe is getting to see the world.
Chama.